This is a Tech Tuesday for the remote video options. The main one we'll be going over is Zoom. One thing to note is that Zoom has had some privacy concerns, and you can definitely read up on those and decide if you want to continue using Zoom. But if you're asking for a recommendation of stuff to use, and if Zoom is something that we would recommend using, well, we're currently using it, so I think that's a pretty good recommendation as to ease of use and just simplicity, which is why we're using it. And while there are some issues with it, there are issues with all of these options that we'll be talking about. All right, so whenever the work from home and stay at home orders happened, Zoom basically came out of the gate as the go-to application. So we're going to go over it first. One of the issues with showing Zoom and how to use it in this format is because since we are using Zoom, we actually I can't show you any of the controls in Zoom because Zoom hides itself from being shared. So Mary put together some screenshots and we can go over that, but we can also show you on the website how to start a meeting, set up a meeting, and set up an account if you don't already have one. One of the nice things about Zoom is even if you don't have an account, you can still join a meeting, which is always nice. So it's a one-click option to get into a meeting. Another thing Zoom does really well is their support articles, which are very easy to find on their website. And they'll go over and they have a short video segment and they have a short description of how to do certain things. So for example, this one is how to join a meeting. So if we just click on it, we'll go to the support.zoom.us page and joining a meeting. And there's a short video. I believe it's just over a minute long that you can read. And then there's also down near the bottom, it'll show you how to, on Windows and Mac, join a meeting, on Linux, Android, iOS. So all of these different options, you just click on the one that pertains to you, and they will show you how to join a meeting. And they have these for pretty much everything you can do in Zoom. And again, we have some of them linked, but on the left-hand side over here, you can just click on that, and then Zoom Help Center, meetings and webinars, joining and starting. If you are already good with joining and starting, you can click on meetings and webinars, and then they'll have more options for you to click on and find out how to do stuff in Zoom. If you want to log into Zoom or set up an account, you can just Google Zoom. Zoom. Click on the first link. It'll be zoom.us. And then you can sign up. It's free, or you can sign in on the top right-hand corner of the screen. So if we sign in, it'll ask me for my email address and password, which I have written down in my password database. Password. Sign in. Never. And then we can see our kind of platform, our profile. So if I go to the top left, this is my profile. You have your name. You can change your picture on the Zoom website. The sign-in email, user type, basic. So basic is the free option. And it will tell you kind of what you can do. So the capacity for meetings is 100 with my free option. If I want to get more, I could always click on upgrade and upgrade that. Meetings on the left-hand side, meetings, webinars, recordings. Recordings are if I record my meeting to the cloud, it will be saved here. Webinars, these are webinars I can put on, and they'll have the recording of that. And meetings, it will have all of your upcoming meetings. So meetings that you have scheduled and meetings that you have signed up for. I see we have a question. Can you enlarge the print we are seeing? Yep, I sometimes forget about that. So I will go to 140%. Hopefully that's large enough. All right, yeah, and if you have any questions, just raise your hand, and then you can always type in the group chat and I'll respond to it, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. All right, so we're gonna move on. Upcoming meetings. So if I go to, on the left-hand side under personal meetings, this is where all of my meetings that I have scheduled will be. If I want to schedule a meeting, I can both go to meetings under personal and click on schedule right here in the top left of the screen-ish, or I can go to the top right and go to schedule a meeting and click on the top right. Here, I can then add the name of the meeting. So my meeting, I can add the description. So this is for testing. I can schedule when I want the meeting to be. So I can click on the little calendar icon and choose any date I want. I can choose any time I want. And then I can list the duration, my time zone. I can have this be like if I have a meeting that happens every Monday, I can hit this button and tell it to happen every Monday. Meeting ID, meeting password. And I can go to save. So as soon as I hit save, the meeting will be saved. Right at the saved, and then the meeting will be set. If I go to the bottom under meeting options, these are kind of where you can choose what type of meeting you want to run. Enable join before host. What this means is if you want to set up a meeting, but you don't know if you'll be like 5 or 10 minutes late to it, you can hit enable join before host, and that will allow your participants to join the meeting and talk to each other before you get there. Mute participants upon entry. I generally recommend this. All this does is whenever someone enters the Zoom meeting, they have to then manually unmute themselves. I don't know if anyone's ever joined a Zoom meeting where someone on the other end joins a meeting and they have the TV on in the background or a dog is barking or something like that. That can be very distracting. So if you just mute participants upon entry, that can solve part of that problem with people initially joining with sound in the background. Enable waiting room. This is a security feature. So one of the ways that Zoom was having issues was people were joining Zoom meetings and they were just getting directly into the Zoom meeting, and then they were able to view everyone's camera. They were sometimes able to use the whiteboard and draw various graphic pictures on whatever someone was presenting. What the waiting room allows you to do is you only let people in who you know are supposed to be in the meeting. And then the last option is record the meeting automatically on the local computer. All this does is any meeting that you have, it will automatically record it, so you don't have to remember to manually hit the record button like I do. You may ask, well, what if I don't want to schedule a meeting? What if I just have a meeting like right now that I just want to throw together so people can join it and we can have a conversation like as of right now? That option is just host a meeting. So on the top right-hand corner, you click host a meeting. You hit host a meeting, and you can choose video off, video on, screen share only. But with video on is going to be your basic meeting. So you click on that. And then it will prompt and download and run the Zoom meeting on your computer. and I will hit cancel because otherwise it will kick me out of this meeting. And then joining a meeting. There are a couple ways of joining a meeting. Whenever you get invited to a meeting, generally it will be kind of a long list of ways to join. So I will open up the one Mary sent me in a Word type document. Hopefully people are able to see this. If not, I will maximize it and make it bigger. All right, so you'll get something like this when you're invited to a meeting. It'll be the topic, the time, and a join link. If a meeting has a join link, all you have to do is click on this link and you'll automatically join the meeting. Something meeting organizers can do is they can just send you the meeting ID and the password. So how you join a meeting on Zoom, if you just have the meeting ID and password, is you will take these numbers, not rearrange them. You'll take these numbers, the meeting ID, copy them, don't save, and you'll input the meeting ID and hit join. And then when prompted, you will then provide the password. All right, I learned the hard way. This is a question or a statement. I learned the hard way that the host or co-host needs a second device to check emails from frustrated people having to join the meeting. Yep. So one of the other things I generally recommend with Zoom or running a meeting is if you have the ability to have a second screen or a second computer, I recommend it, because one screen can be dedicated to the faces or seeing what someone is sharing, and the other screen can have the chat and all of the other controls. All right. Host a meeting, join a meeting, and schedule a meeting. That's pretty much as complicated as it gets with Zoom. We're going to go over some slides that kind of give you more information on some options when you're in the meeting. And you can always reference these slides after this presentation. And also feel free to ask any questions. I will stop after Zoom so people can ask Zoom specific questions before we move on to the other ones.
Tim, I have a question.
All right.
I've been in lots of Zoom meetings, and I find that sometimes some people, you turn it up to the average volume, but some speakers are very, very low, and some speakers are very loud. So, can the host modify the volume of the speakers?
That is a good question. I am clicking on this now. I do not see an option for me to manually change people's volume. Okay. Mary, have you seen that option in Zoom?
No, I haven't. But you know what, Bob, we'll do a little research and get back to you with that.
Sure, that's great.
I know some other applications have it, so let me make sure this is good. All right, so things like Discord, I know have the option for you to personally change people's volumes, so how you see them. But I'm clicking around in Zoom and I'm not seeing that. All I see is mute, unfortunately. But that's a great question, and I'll check on that a little deeper. All right. So we're getting into the slides. So top right is where you start. So join a meeting, you add the meeting ID from the invite, click on join. You'll then go to enter a meeting password, and then you'll hit join meeting. And then if the meeting hasn't started yet, you'll see this and it will just say, please wait for the host to start this meeting. That's pretty much it. And then as soon as the host will start the meeting, it'll start. And sometimes you'll be popped into a waiting room, or sometimes you'll just go directly into the meeting. One thing to note is before you join the meeting, there will be an option to test computer audio. What this will allow you to do is this will make sure that you are using the correct microphone and the correct video camera for the call, and you will also be able to see your volume level. So basically you can talk into it, and then as soon as you talk and you say something, Zoom will kind of figure out that you've stopped talking, and it will then replay your sound. So from there you can see if you are talking too loud or too softly, or if you need to move the microphone closer or further away.
Tim,
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
If you're hosting a meeting and you've set the meeting for, say, 1 o'clock, as host, can you get in and open that before 1, or do I need to set it up to say 12:50 or 12:55 so that I'm there for early people who want to come in?
As host, you can join it whenever you want.
But can I join it before the time I've set for the meeting?
If you're the host, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
Tim,
Yes.
if the host does go in a few minutes early, does that count towards the 40-minute limit?
Great question. And I will kind of give a non-answer. And the non-answer is currently I don't know, because because Zoom has suspended all of its limits for free accounts.
Really?
Yep. So
So
right
there's
now,
no 40-minute limit at this point.
correct. I don't know when that will end, but
We just had a
Zoom-
family Zoom the other, maybe Saturday, and with two of there were 4 people on it, plus Laura and I, and after 40 minutes it just ended, and then someone else had to start a new meeting.
That's weird. I didn't realize that they had taken off that.
Hmm.
Let me check.
So, and Tim, while you're checking that, I did come up with, there is some volume control for the room, and I'll put the link out in chat for everyone.
All right, I no longer see that on their front page, which is weird. But yeah, like I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, whenever I checked it, it's still up here. They had removed all limits for time for the free account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe they.
Tim?
Yes.
I did it yesterday, and I got the notification that they were suspending the 40 minutes. And what they said is, do you want to set up a new meeting, because on your next meeting, because then it will happen
Okay.
automatically. I had already set up a weekly meeting, so I couldn't do that. So I'll know next week, but it definitely was working yesterday.
So what you're
Yeah.
saying, you get to the end of the 40 minutes, and it just says, do you want to extend this meeting?
Huh.
Is that correct, my understanding?
I don't know whether it said, do you want to, or whether it said you can.
All
But
right.
in any case, it was clear yesterday.
And it was free still.
Yes.
All right, good.
Yep. They said they were feeling generous was the word.
I think there's some
Perfect.
variation in how they're going about it these days. So it's not a fast and hard rule one way or another, unfortunately.
Well, that would definitely change my recommendation if they had taken away the free unlimited
Yes.
portion of Zoom. So if it indeed has added the 40-minute restriction back, then we definitely have others on this list you can use. All right. But yeah, I'm not completely sure if they've taken that away or not, or if they're just kind of reminding people that, hey, in the future, you'll have to start a new meeting. But that's definitely good to know, and something I wasn't aware of, partially because I only use paid Zoom accounts. I see how the other half lives. All right. I still see some raised hands. Are there any questions associated with those, or should I continue?
Continue.
All right. So next screenshot. Once you've joined the meeting, it will ask you to join with computer audio. It will ask if you want to join with computer audio. The option is computer audio, which is the left-hand side of the screen. And the other option is phone call, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. So basically, one of the things you can do is if your computer has like a really bad microphone or something like that, or if you want the ability to walk around with a phone instead of sitting static with your computer and listening, you can just dial in using these numbers. You'll just have to type in the participant ID and the password, and it will walk you through that on the phone. Generally, most people will be joining with computer audio though. And then there's always the option right below join with computer audio to test speaker and microphone, which I always recommend.
Mm.
All right, so let's say you get into a meeting and your microphone sucks. No one can hear you, and you keep asking, can anyone hear me? And no one's responding to you, either because they don't like you or because you don't have the microphone selected. What you can do is you can scroll your cursor down to the bottom left-hand side, click on the little up arrow near the microphone icon. Can I enlarge the print? I will.
93.
That's about as large as I can make it, unfortunately. But you'll go to bottom left, hit the microphone icon, there will be a little arrow, and then over here you will be able to select a microphone and select a speaker. It will once again give you an option to test the speaker and microphone. So one of the reasons why you may have an incorrect audio source is if you share your computer. So something that happens with me and my wife is she uses her headphones to connect to Zoom. And if we're using the same computer, I will then open up the computer, try and connect to Zoom. I think the audio is all set. I'll turn it on, and all of a sudden she's hearing my meeting and I'm not hearing anything. So what I have to do is go to the bottom left and make sure to select the microphone, that's the computer and not the Bluetooth headset, and the speaker, that is the computer and not the Bluetooth headset. So that's just one way where Zoom can kind of use the wrong input and output device. If you go into audio, into the settings, there are more options. So we were talking about how some people are having really, really loud audio. What they can do is, if you let them know, they can go into their audio settings, and under microphone, input level, and volume, they can lower this slider up and down. So if they are naturally a very loud person, they can lower the volume. And if they are a naturally soft-spoken person, they can increase the volume. So this is kind of something that it seems like they have to do themselves, but there is an option for them to do it. And same thing with your speakers. If it's too loud, you can also lower it in here. One setting I'd like to talk about in here is the press.
See a thing.
What?
Can't see a thing. But I want to see something. I can hear, but I can't
Yes.
see anything.
Marcia, if you take your cursor down to the toolbar in your window, there's a little zoom icon, and hover over that, you'll probably see the picture that Tim is showing.
Over what? All I see is mute, stop video, share, participants, and more. That's all I see.
Yeah. Okay.
What am I supposed to do?
So bring the cursor down to the toolbar to the little white camera in a blue background, and there should be a window that will pop up. One
See anything.
marked
Plan,
Zoom
see
meeting.
person,
Click
anything.
on that,
See person.
and that should enlarge it.
Don't know what you're talking about. I don't see none of that.
Okay.
I go back to the connections. Go back to the connections from the
The nice,
email.
you know what
and
I'm
get
going to
nothing.
suggest, Marcia, is we'll have a recording of this,
Okay.
So if you don't see something, you'll be able to see it in the recording.
Okay. Very
Okay.
good. Thank you. Yep.
Sure.
Thank you. I'll try to get on Zoom Internet or whatever it is and see if that'll give me the directions how to do it. 'Cause I have another Zoom thing tonight, so it's like,
Okay.
maybe I can learn somehow. Right. Thank you.
All right, so one thing that I consider to be best practice is if you are not talking, you mute yourself. And this isn't like, I'm just saying this in general. You guys are all great. So whenever you join a meeting, sometimes the owner of the meeting will have it set to auto mute everyone who joins. This is good, as I said before, because some people have background noise that they aren't really cognizant of. So it kind of forces them to, whenever they join a meeting, think about it, about turning their mic on, and also allows someone who has background noise joining a meeting not to interrupt everyone else. And one of the things I like is if you are in a meeting with like 6 or 7 people who are all trying to talk, you can keep yourself muted and you can press and hold the space key, so the space bar, whenever you want to talk. So your background noise will always be off because you won't be talking, because your microphone will be off. You just, if you want to talk, you hold the space bar and then you can be heard. So you can play around with that. I personally like it. But I also have a dedicated key or a dedicated button on my headphones that I just mute myself and it turns red. So I know that I'm muted. But you can always use the space bar for the same effect. All right, next slide is the video. If you have a video camera or if you're using, for example, a phone or a laptop that has it built in, you can always display your video. Right now, on the bottom left of this screenshot, we can see that it has a camera icon with a red slash through it. That means that you are not displaying or sharing your video. If you want to, you can click on that and it will enable your video. And if it's not doing it for some reason, you can click on the up arrow to the right and you can then make sure you have the correct camera selected. For some people, this may be a thing where if you have a laptop and you have a video camera connected, then you can sometimes switch between them because generally a dedicated video camera like the Logitech C90 or something will be better quality. And if you go into settings, there are some video options. So one thing I like to do is I like to mirror my video because that way what I see on my screen is what everyone else sees. So if I raise my right hand, it looks like I raise my right hand. It's kind of hard to describe without showing it, and I can't really show it. But trust me, if your video feels weird to you, just click mirror my video. Another option you can do is you can touch up my appearance. This kind of gives you that like cover of Vogue glow kind of thing going on. Some people like it, some people don't. One thing to note is if your video quality seems to not be great, turn off some of these options because these do take processing power.
Hey, Tim,
Yes.
can any participant use this screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't know that. All right.
If video is enabled, everyone can go in here and check it out.
A problem I've seen in many of the, well, I should say many, but I've probably been on 10 Zoom meetings so far. And depending on where I am, if I have a lot of windows behind me, and someone else was on the meeting this morning, and he also had a lot of you can hardly see the face. It's just this overwhelming bright thing behind you.
Oh yeah.
It's something you can do about that.
Yes, actually, I have some pictures for this. And some of them are not flattering, but I meant them to not be flattering. So this was actually in a previous class that we had this, and I showed these off.
Oh.
It was kind of like best practices.
Yeah.
But I'll quickly go over them right now. So this is me in front of a window. Well, actually, it's a sliding door, but it's me in front of a light source, and I kind of look very washed out. So unfortunately, this is kind of something you have to plan ahead and deal with on an individual basis. But this is me in front of a window. This is me just with lighting from above, like just a lot of soft lighting. This is generally the kind of face you want.
Mm.
I mean, the glasses, you know, just the hair, the beard. I mean, it's really the ideal look everyone should be going for. So that's kind of the light situation that you want. This is if you have your camera positioned above you. I don't care. Yeah, beard may be a problem for some of us. This is if your camera is positioned above you. If you notice the difference, the camera is like right at eye level. I look engaged. Here, the camera is above me. I don't care how, you know, into the meeting I am or how much attention I'm paying. It kind of looks like I'm falling asleep. So you want the camera at eye level. You don't want the camera below you, because this happens. Yeah,
Very
so
flattering, Tim.
I know. So don't look like that. I'll just go back to this for a second. All right. Don't look like that. Here is if you don't have enough light. You can kind of see that everything is grainy and not that great. This is me in front of a window. So I am staring out a window. So this is fine. You can see I'm a little washed out, but it's a lot better than if I have a window behind me. And then here is another window behind me, in case you wanted to remember that you shouldn't do that. But yeah, if you notice that your video isn't that great, sometimes just turning your body and turning the camera, you can find a better lighting angle. Oops.
But the host can't do much about that.
Nope, not a host option,
Okay.
unfortunately. But now you can kind of remember to tell people
Right.
Windows can be your friend, but they can also suck. All right, so with video, if you go into settings, this is under advanced. So in the bottom right corner of this, you can see the advanced button. There will be a lot of checkboxes you can do. If you notice that your video quality, or if someone else says, hey, your video isn't showing up, you can try to enable or disable some of these. For example, enable denoise will kind of send more information. So if you have a bad internet connection, it can actually cause your video to look worse. Won't go too deep into that, but these options are here. All right, chat menu. If you open the chat menu, you will have a couple different options for the Zoom group chat. If you click on everyone, so you will have some options. So if you click on everyone, you will see a list of every single person in the meeting. If you click on their name, any message you send will only be sent to that person. If you have everyone in meeting selected, it will send it to everyone. So just remember that the Zoom group chat is public, but you can make it go to a single person. So if, for example, you notice that someone's mic is on and they have a washing machine going on in the background, you can send a message to that person. And you can also send a message to the meeting organizer, and then they can mute them for everyone. All right, so if you are the host, and I've tried to make this clear by, on the bottom left, I have host - waiting room. If you're the host and you have a waiting room set up and you go to participants, this is what you will see. You will see that 2 people are waiting in this example, and you have to let them in. So all you'll do is you'll go over their name and you will hit allow, and then it will just pop them into the meeting. All right, if you want to, you can, if you're the host, you can set it up in here to mute participants on entry, and you can also allow them to unmute themselves. So if you're the host and you just don't want anyone to be able to unmute themselves, you can always turn this off, and that way whenever you mute someone, they can't unmute themselves. This is advanced sharing options. So what this will allow you to do is this will allow you to basically not let anyone else share their screen. So sometimes what can accidentally happen is someone can accidentally hit share screen, and then you have multiple people fighting for control over sharing their own screen. So that's what that menu looks like if you need to let someone share their screen or not.
Tim,
Yes.
back to the previous screenshot, not that one, the one just before that. Yeah, okay. I was just reading, I was in a meeting the other day and I could not rename myself. And I see here there's something clicked on, allow participants to rename themselves. So that's something that the host would have to set up? Or I could-
Yep.
So only the host could do that?
Basically, if the host doesn't allow you to rename yourselves when you're in the meeting, you can't do it, but you can always go to your Zoom profile and rename yourself.
Okay, but to do that, to go to my profile, I would have to have made an signed
A
in.
Zoom account. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Tim, I have a question. This is Bob.
Yep.
I've been in meetings, and maybe you're going to cover this anyway, that people want to show a report. Is there
Yep.
some way you can do that?
Yeah, so basically what will happen, I don't have a slide specifically for that,
Okay.
but if you are in this menu and you're the owner, you can click on someone's name and then you can allow them to share screen.
Okay.
So
They have to have it electronically in their computer.
yeah, they have to have it on their computer, they have to have it on their screen, and then they can share their screen.
Okay.
But that's a host option.
All right.
And that's kind of here. Only one participant can share at a time, and who can share, only host is selected right now.
Yeah.
So I would have to give you guys permission to share your screen. If you are in a meeting and you can't share your screen, you can still click on the share screen button, and it should send a notice to the host and the owner of the meeting that you want to share your screen, and then they can allow that or not. All right. So yeah, this is the screen I was talking about. So you can click on someone's name, ask to start video, if that's you, make host, make co-host, allow. So you can kind of give other people options if you're the host. And now another thing is if you are the host and if you leave a meeting, you have two options. One of the options is leave meeting, and one of the options is end meeting for all. So if you want to leave the meeting, but you still want other people to be allowed to stay in the room and continue the conversation, you just hit leave meeting. If you want to end the meeting and just have everyone cut off from that meeting, you would hit end meeting for all, and it would just end everybody's meeting. All right, so we're moving on to Google's options. I'd ask you to hold your questions on Zoom actually, just because I want to get through all of these options. The next few options will not take nearly as much time as Zoom. We just wanted to spend more time on Zoom to kind of show the screenshots because we know that Zoom is the primary method for video conferencing that people are using these days. But we still wanted to give other options of how you can other programs you can use to do the same thing. So again, I will also say that why would you use Google over Zoom? The biggest reason is apparently if they bring that 40-minute thing back, because Google doesn't have that. The other reason is if you already use Gmail for everything, Google Hangouts and Google Meet are already kind of integrated with the entire Google system. So they make it very easy to set up a meeting, to host a meeting, all that fun stuff, to share documents regarding a meeting within the Google ecosystem. So you would use this over Zoom if you really, really like Google. Google is transitioning away from Hangouts, and they are kind of promoting Meet. Google Meet used to be only available on their paid accounts, but now you can use it for free, primarily because they realized how much market share Zoom was getting, and they freaked out. So they allow, as of May this year, they've now allowed Meet to be used on free accounts. There's a blog post that goes over this, which is linked. It's the last option. And the first option is Google Hangouts. The second option is Google Meet. We can quickly go over what it looks like. So if I just go to meet.google.com, incredibly difficult. That was a lie. That was me being facetious. You can click on Start a Meeting or Enter Meeting Code. So same with Zoom. You can give participants a meeting code. They would just type it in, and then they would hit join. But if you want to start a meeting, you would just click on Start and dismiss, block. So I don't have a camera and I muted myself. But basically, I would then send people this link. Sorry, I'll make it a little bit bigger. I would just send everybody this link, and then they could join my meeting. Another thing is a lot of what you can do on Zoom. You'll find very, very similar features on Google Meet and all of the other options. I'm not going to say who stole from whom, but they're all very similar. And that's Google Meet. Sorry about that. Personally, I do not like Google Hangouts. The video quality sucks compared to Zoom. Google Meet, however, is equivalent video and audio quality to Zoom.
Tim, do you get a generic link or do you have to apply for one each time?
You can set up a link for yourself, so any meeting you start will be the same link.
Okay.
And you may not have Google Meet yet. They are slow rolling it out during May to Google accounts. But you can check by just going to meet.google.com. And if you see something like this that says start a meeting, you're able to start a meeting. And you can also directly schedule a video meeting from Google Calendar. So whenever you do a new calendar entry, you can just invite the participants that way, and it will automatically send out the invite. All right, FaceTime. Why would you use FaceTime, and what is FaceTime? So you would use FaceTime if you have an iPhone and if everyone you're trying to talk to has an iPhone. I forgot to mention that Zoom works on phones, Apple and Android. It works on computers, Linux, Mac, and Windows. And same with Google. Google Meet works on iPhones, it works on Androids, it works on any computer type. So we're good there. But FaceTime will only work with an iPhone or with a Mac computer. So that's the big negative for that. I'm not going to go too much into how to use FaceTime, but basically I have attached a video link that we actually have the time, so I'll just start it.
Catch up with all your friends at once.
Plus, it's really catchy. And it's just a short 2.5-minute video on how to start a FaceTime conversation. I just kind of
With
wanted
Group
to show you
FaceTime. To use Group FaceTime,
the production quality, way better than what I can do. But 2.5-minute video, feel free to watch it. And it goes over how to start, how to end, how to invite, all that fun stuff for your FaceTime video. One thing to note with FaceTime, again, only works on Apple products. And it is also, in my opinion, the best looking video. So the video quality is very high with FaceTime. So some people like open source alternatives. I'm one of those people. I also generally like it because oftentimes open source projects are free. But Jitsi is an alternative to Zoom. And I have a link there. And if you click on it, they have a short informational video on what is Jitsi. And I'll also show you the fastest way of starting a meeting. So if I just go to Jitsi and I go to see it in action, start a meeting, you don't even have to set up an account. You just click on that link, start a new meeting. You'll type in the meeting name. So this is a test. This is a test meeting today. I would hit go, allow, and I've started my meeting. If I want someone to join it, I would just go here, bottom left. I will make the screen bigger. Bottom right, link. I would just copy this link, send it to somebody. They can also dial in with their phone and join, and I can set a password if I want to. And you would just copy all this information, send it to whoever you want, and they could join the meeting. And it's very quick. There aren't any time limits, and the video quality and audio quality is actually better than Zoom if you have a bad connection. So if a lot of people are having like really choppy video or someone's audio is cutting in or out and you're willing to try something else, feel free to try Jitsi because it's very comparable to Zoom with its features and with what you can do with it, but it has slightly better compression for video and audio, which means the quality is a little bit better than what you can get from Zoom.
Who pays for the Jitsi? I mean, who pays for getting that organized? That's got to cost money. You got engineers and all.
Jitsi, I actually really like that question because it allows me to go on a tangent. So if I go to the Jitsi homepage, and I will end this meeting. 8x8 meetings in Video Pro. So we use 8x8 at the townhouse for our phone system. 8x8 2 years ago absolutely sucked with video conferencing. It sucked. There's no way around it. It was the worst video conferencing solution I've ever tried to use. So what 8x8 did is they essentially bought Jitsi and just use Jitsi's technology into their meetings now. So now 8x8, the phone company, has a great meeting experience, and they kind of just let Jitsi alone. So it's free. Like to use Jitsi is free. And another cool thing with Jitsi is if you really want to spend time, you can set up your own Jitsi server on your computer to run meetings off of, and that increases the quality a little bit more. And it also means that there's no data going to a third party whenever you are doing a meeting. Was asked, safety-wise, is it better off or the same as Zoom? Jitsi is safer than Zoom. I don't know how else to say it. It has better protection built in, and the biggest reason why it's safe compared to Zoom is no one is trying to get into Jitsi meetings to bomb them because everyone's currently using Zoom. So why would you attack someone with like 5% market share whenever you can go after someone with 70% market share? So if you're worried about security, Jitsi would be a good alternative.
Is it simple to use, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just started a meeting. I'll do it again. So see it in action. This is all without putting in any information. Like I haven't set up an account or anything like that. And you can always set up an account, but see it in action, start a meeting. I click on that, start a new meeting, give it a name. I can install it on Chrome. Kind of increases the quality. Jitsi is available for Windows, Mac, Linux, iPhone, and Android. And I would hit go and then start the meeting. If I connect my calendar, you can then, in a very similar to Zoom fashion, you can create meetings in advance and have people join them. Yeah, it's very comparable to Zoom with the difficulty and all of that fun stuff. And if you have an account, you can then see your meetings that you have coming up, and you can also see meetings that you had recently. And you would just hit connect your calendar, and then you would just sign in with Google.
Will it work on Outlook calendar?
Yes, sign in with Microsoft. I'm always recommending be wary with using these type of sign-in options, but there's been nothing I've seen that have said that Jitsi has an issue with this. So I personally feel safe enough to sign in with these to connect my calendar. And then profile, set display name, email, devices. This is where you would choose your camera and which microphone and which audio source. Yeah, very, very similar to Zoom. And then at just under an hour, because we waited 5 minutes, we are ready for the question portion of this. If anyone has any questions or comments or other, like if anyone has a program that they've used that we didn't mention on here, definitely love to hear it. I can always add it here so more people can try it out.
I have a question, Tim.
Yep.
If, let's say I'm the host and I'm setting up a meeting, and I think a lot of people have been in Zoom meetings, so I think a lot of people know how to join that. How about Jitsi? I mean, is that easy to join as well?
Yeah, so if I start a meeting, you can always install the Chrome extension. It makes it a little bit easier. This is meeting today, go, don't show. The information down here, it'll be an I button. Click on that, copy, and this will look very similar to what you get from Zoom. So I'll open up what Zoom gives you again. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So sorry about the text on that. Let me do this, and then. So this is what Zoom looks like, the invite.
Mm-hmm.
You have topic, time, join Zoom meeting, meeting ID, password, and this is what Jitsi looks like. The link, people can just click on that. People can dial in, and people, if you want, you can add a password. And then people can be prompted whenever they join to type in that password.
Tim, I've got a question too about Jitsi.
Yep.
Can you schedule meetings in advance like that and send it out ahead of time like you can in Zoom?
Yes, you can. The issue with that is you will need to associate it with your calendar. So if you use Outlook or if you use Google, you would associate it with your, for me, I would associate it with my Google Calendar. And then from my Google Calendar, I can start and schedule a Jitsi meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And Jitsi, just like Zoom, has not Zoom quality, but it has pretty good tutorials. So if you just search for that, Jitsi schedule a meeting, Jitsi meetings. This is the Jitsi Chrome extension, and this will also allow you to schedule a meeting. And you can always just look, so like Jitsi Meet now with Google and Microsoft Calendar support, this will show you how to set it up. Yeah.
Tim, Deb here.
Yes.
Back in one of the first sessions with Zoom, there was an option, or some people were able to set a virtual background, but I didn't seem to have that. When I opened up, I forget even where it was, but there was nothing to choose from. So is that something you have to put in there yourself, or where do you go to get virtual background choices?
So Mary can speak on this as well, but I'll just quickly try and answer it, and then Mary can jump in, because I know Mary likes talking as well. But you can only do the virtual backgrounds if you are using a computer.
Okay, I am.
And then Mary, take it away.
Sure. I think with the, Deb, do you have a free account?
No, is that the problem?
If you have a free account, I'm not sure how many virtual backgrounds you have. There will be a set of standard ones, and then you can upload photos into Zoom to use as virtual backgrounds. It's very straightforward. In fact, in the library world, they issued a bunch of beautiful libraries from Prague, from John Hopkins, gorgeous libraries, so that you could have a library in the background. So you can upload photographs of your own as the quality can be different depending on the background that you're, if you have a lot of light behind you, it's not going to work as well. But it's fairly straightforward. If you go to, I believe if you go to the up arrow near the video in the toolbar and then choose virtual background, it will give you the option to add a virtual background, and then you can just go ahead and add a photograph.
Can I jump in here?
Sure.
Yesterday, I went to do that, and so did my husband. We were sitting here with our MacBook Pros next to each other. I went to virtual background, and this time all I got was a black rectangle that said none. And he got 5 options on the same, basically the same screen. I gave up trying to find those options, but then left that meeting that we had set up just to test things, and came back in, and that time they showed up. So I didn't do anything different, but something was different from Zoom. So that may affect what you see too. And I have the free account.
And but if you go into virtual backgrounds, and whatever shows up that's there, then there's also a little plus sign to the top right-hand corner of the virtual background screen where you can add a photograph, so you can add virtual backgrounds.
I just tried it now, and I got the 5
Okay.
stock ones they offer.
Okay.
It worked today.
Great. I think that Zoom is, they have so many people using it. It seems it's a hit or miss thing sometimes.
Yeah, and Zoom also is partially because of the security concerns. They've been updating Zoom incredibly quickly. So one thing you'll always want to do is you'll always want to click yes if it says like there's a new version of Zoom. Do you want to install it and update it? Because some things will break if you don't have the latest version. But again, I just searched for Zoom virtual backgrounds, and I got their support.zoom.us page, and they have a short 3-minute video, 3.5-minute video on all the ways you can use virtual backgrounds and how to set it up.
Thank you.
So that's different than what I got when I tried the same thing. Interesting.
Well, this, what Tim's showing you is a support video. It's not in the virtual background
Oh,
button.
okay. You don't get to it from there. You
No.
do it
Yep.
from, yeah. Oh, got it.
Yeah, I just searched for virtual background Zoom, and
Okay.
Zoom is pretty good with their page account. So it shows up first, and then their videos are pretty helpful. And that is one reason I will say, I don't mean to like push anyone to use Jitsi, because the real benefit of Zoom is because everyone is using it. There are a lot of how-tos and a very straightforward process to find how to set certain things up
Nice.
more than the other options.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any more questions for Tim? All right. Thank
Or
you,
Mary.
Tim.
Excellent movie. Excellent,
Yes.
excellent session. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next week, Tim is going to do a Tech Tuesday, which will actually be on Tuesday, about buying a device and what you need to look for and places to find good deals. So should be fun. We can all spend a little money.
Just like the previous class where I told you stuff to buy for making your Zoom calls better.
Exactly.
Tim, will you be covering at some point buying microphones that don't cost a lot of money?
Yeah, I'll throw that in. That was also in the previous class. I think we have a recording of it.
And I can.
But
access
we will
some-
go over it with some additional options.
Okay.
Carol, I can send you that recording.
Thank you, Mary. I
Sure.
appreciate that.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having it.
Yeah, thank you for sure.
Thank
Take
you very
care.
much.
See you next week.
All right, next week. Bye.
Hey, ciao.